Welcome back for a new review, and that is the review of Beauty and the Beast, the animated movie. Now, first off, of course, I'm seeing an animated movie, and that's what will be written, obviously, for the review. Only because now that we have a full live-action film, that's what it is now, is the animated film. But anyways, this would be released, of course, in the early 90s. Or to be more precise, I believe it was 1991 that this would be released after I feel, one of the more underrated films, The Rescuers Down Under. And one thing I will say about this film is, sadly, this would be the first of only 3 films, animated films, that would ever be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. The other 2 would be, of course, Toy Story, and the third will be a future review. So with that said, this, of course, takes place in a small town in, of course, France, based off of also the French fairy tale, Beauty and the Beast. We have, of course, the main heroine character, Belle, which is this intelligent, also very attractive young lady, who is definitely a bookworm. And most of the other people in the town, of course, we start off the film with an musical after we, of course, hear the beginning part about the prince who would turn away what appeared to be an old hag, and she would be like, appearances can be deceiving, and would offer rose. He turned away again, and she turned into an enchantress, and he tried to ask for forgiveness, and she would end up cursing him into a hideous beast, and would put a spell on the entire castle, obviously, and all his employees, if you want to say, or the ones who work for him, all would get turned into furniture and things. Yeah, they shouldn't have been cursed just because their boss was a douche. But, anyways, back to the main story arc, and we have this big, muscular guy who usually would be the hero in the story. Of course, that's being Gaston. And big, muscular, burly man, and which is obsessed because, as far as he's concerned, she is the only one as beautiful as him. We have also him trying to get her attention, tries to make many advances at her, needless to say, and like mentions and tries to trick her later on, of course, in the story, into marrying her. He ends up with his face in the mud. He's like, Belle will be my wife, and so. And of course, her father, not so lucky, has a horse, goes on journey to go to this fair or competition of sorts because of him being an inventor. But sadly ends up in a bad place, ends up in a bad area of the woods, gets chased by wolves, and abandoned at this strange but seems deserted castle. And so he ends up inside. He sees what he puts his feet on, which actually is a dog. First picks up, right next to when he goes inside the castle, a candlestick, and tries to look around when he hears a voice in candlestick is like, hello. And of course that being the awesome Lumiere. And we can't forget the very uptight, stiff clock. Of course, that being Cogsworth. Sitting for a clock, I guess you could say. Sorry, it seems like my camera's having issues again. Anyways, back onto things. This is quite interesting, but of events. Anyways, Belle ends up going after to find out when the horse returns to the house. And we end up seeing, of course, obviously, she ends up coming face to face, gets to the castle, and finds her father. And offers to first tells the beast to come into the light. And she offers herself to free her father because of loving and truly caring about her dad. And it's like, in exchange, you can have me. And the beast is like, you would sacrifice yourself? You would do that? Really stunned at the kindness that Belle would show for the love of her father. He's like, I won't let you do it. But anyways, the beast takes him, tosses him into a self-walking carriage, drops him off in the town, and at the time we can see Gaston in his bar tavern with lots of dead antlers and everything, decor, dead animals, depressed, like so. And then we have LeFou. Gosh, it disturbs me to see you, Gaston, looking so down in the dumps. Psh, every guy here loves to be you, Gaston, even when taking your lumps. Needless to say, I know this song very, very well. It's probably my favorite song in the entire movie. Most people always choose Be Our Guest or A Tale as Old as Time. Well, my personal favorite is Gaston. It's such a funny song, and LeFou is an awesome character. I get a kick out of him. But at the end, when Belle's father goes and tries to get help and says that Belle's been abducted by a beast. And he's thinking, crazy old Maurice. LeFou, I've been thinking. A dangerous pastime, yes I know. That old coot is Belle's father, and his sanity's only so-so. Now the wheels have been turning in my head since I've looked at that loony old man. See, I promised myself I'd be married to Belle. And so on and so forth. To finish off the musical, awesome. Love freaking Gaston. He's hilarious and over the top, and that's why I love him as a bad guy. He's not a true great villain overall. It's just interesting seeing him as the villain when you think of him being more the stereotypical good guy for Walt Disney, obviously. But we see a growing also closeness between Belle and the Beast, because she would start seeing a kinder side. And of course, she is told to stay out of the West Wing. And she asks why, and the Beast is like, because it's forbidden. But also, Lumiere and Cogsworth talk about giant library, so Beast later on ends up offering. But first, she would, of course, go into his inner sanctum and see the rose and try to touch it, and the Beast catches and snaps, and of course yells and growls at her to get out. She runs away from the castle into the woods and stuff, and gets ready to get attacked by, of course, wolves, when he would end up showing up and saving her. And she's kind of taken back and surprised by him risking himself to save her. But it starts to show her there's another side to him. An actual nicer, kinder side that he tries to have hidden. I guess you could say to go with his beast self. It's quite interesting when you think about it. And overall, the very short 90-minute film, There definitely is a decent amount of character development. Strange thing is, we don't really know how much time passes in this film. That's one of the tricky things. We don't really know how long it ends up being. Compared to other Disney films, we know. But in the end, she ends up getting free because looks at the mirror, is worried, and the Beast is like, go to him, to her father. And Lumiere and Cogsworth are like, why did you let her go and stuff? It's like, partially was like, because I love her. And they're like, the spell should be broken, but of course Mrs. Potts is like, but it has to be mutual. She has to show love in return in order to break the spell. And so, with that said, we see that happen. And ends up showing the mirror to Gaston. They're like, it's time to take action. Now follow me to a Beast, to a castle, or so on and so forth. I forget the exact words of that song, but they march to the castle. And of course we see a ridiculous over-the-top fight break out at the castle, which is hilarious. Like the wardrobe, which jumps off the balcony onto those people, and there's no way they survive that crush. It's just over-the-top hilarious. I just love it. And we see, of course, LeFou messing, trying to pull all the feathers out of the feather duster. And, of course, Lumiere saves the day and blows fire and burns him. They go a different route with the live-action version, which is a review for another time. And we see the big fight, of course, between, obviously, Gaston and the Beast. And he's like, how could, like, she love you when she has somebody like me? Not in those precise words, but the same meaning. And he's like down and of course brooding, like so many heroes of today brood a lot. Why that has become a big trend, I do not know. Batman's one of the reasons I think Bring became really popular, and Angel from Buffy are a few of the reasons I think Bring became really popular for some reason. But in the end, Gaston ends up being thrown off, obviously falling to his death, and the Beast obviously gets stabbed and is dying, and she finally kisses. We see, it looks like he's dead, but of course we see his transformation back to human, the castle changing back, and all the others, Cogsworth, Lumiere, of course Mrs. Potts, Chip, and all the others get transformed back into humans. And of course the footstool being turned back into a dog. It's hilarious at the end. And also, like Chip says, like mentioned, since he's human, does he still have to sleep in the cupboard? That's kind of funny. That's a good little joke that I don't think most people appreciate. But a lot of the humor overall in this film is great. The music is fantastic. But this is really the early part of what would be known as the Disney Renaissance, which would really be started by the 1989, of course, Little Mermaid, which I've already reviewed. And in 1992, we would get what is another future review coming your way of course, Aladdin. And also you can expect The Lion King very soon as well, which I look forward to doing that one, since it's my all-time favorite Disney movie. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this movie review, and on a scale of 1 to 10, movie rating, I give this film a 10 out of 10. So I hope you enjoyed this review and found it may not be the super most insightful, but I try to give a little bit of my opinion and some of the parts that really stand out to me in the film. But I hope you enjoyed and enjoy future upcoming Disney reviews. And also I have an announcement to make, a future anime review in the works, movie review. It's going to be my first review for a Hayao Miyazaki film. And it is going to be the very first Miyazaki film from Studio Ghibli I ever watched. Kiki's Delivery Service. And I look forward to reviewing that film and give my personal opinion on it. But hope you enjoyed this review, enjoyed the music. First parts of the music was from Soul Calibur 2. This piece is from The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I'll see you all next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel.